Hi, my name is Mayowa and I am your class prefect. I think that my mother brainwashed me. If not for God, I would have committed suicide that very night. You know when you're a pastor's child, they want you to do everything, including die for their sins. Wow, right. Last. Hey guys, welcome back to this place. Welcome back to Deartemi. I'm glad you're here. Glad you clicked on this video. Today we're going to talk about the school of disapproval. Yes, I know it sounds strange, and even me too. I think it's taken years for me to realize that it was a school. Disapproval is exactly what it sounds like when someone does not like you. This is beyond like. When someone disapproves of you. When someone is like, no, this person is this and this and this, everything that you're not. That is exactly what disapproval is. For the longest time, like, I knew that the hand of God was on me. I think that my mother brainwashed me. We laugh and say she brainwashed me, but seriously, like, my mom was the first person that started planting those seeds in my heart when I was young, saying things like, Mayowa, God is gonna use you. You're an amazing woman of God. You're gonna do this for God. God is gonna put you smack dab in the middle of the end time revival. As a 2-year-old, I grew up hearing things like that, but I didn't know that this was what it was going to entail. And I think that it was probably in my early 20s that God began to coin this moniker for me, and it became, you are in God's boot camp. I was like, okay, Kini boot camp, what does that mean? So I would go look up things like, what is a boot camp? What do you do in a boot camp? And I realized it was this like process that was grueling. A lot of people in the army would use it, Navy, special forces, like people who do great things for their country. They will put them in this system for a couple of weeks. It could be months. They would be on this strict regiment with this time. They had to wake up sometimes really crazy hours. They would go running. They would go skydiving, just like crazy things. And they would be like, we are the US Air Force. We are the US Army. You're only seeing the cute little adverts that they're posting, right? You don't know what it takes for them to stand and say, we are the US Army. I began to realize from an early age that I was in God's boot camp. Now I look back and think, yes, I was in God's boot camp. But back then, it just seemed like everybody hated me and nobody liked me. I was just no good. I'm doing this video, first of all, to pacify my younger self. I'm going to try to do this video without shedding a tear. I feel like if I cannot shed a tear, God has really helped me overcome some of this hurts. And I am doing this video for any other young girl out there who is going through something similar and does not have a name tag for it, does not quite understand, why am I the only one? Are there no many girls? Kilo day? What is going on? I'm doing this for girls who think that way. I'm doing this for girls who sense that there's a call of God in their life and don't know how to get there. I pray you're blessed by this. If this video actually ministers to you, please give it a thumbs up, share it, send it to somebody else who is in God's boot camp just like you. So inside God's boot camp, there are many courses. It's just the same way when you go to a university system. You have to take different classes for you to go from being a freshman to being a sophomore to being a junior to being a senior or upperclassman. You have to finish all your prereq stuff. You have to have a good GPA and you keep on progressing. It's the same with the things of God. I love how the earth system copies God and they give it a different name. That whole thing is line upon line, precept upon precept. That's exactly how it is in the boot camp of Jesus. It's little by little. You pass one course, you move to the next. You go through unforgiveness, you're dealing with contentment, and then you're dealing with singleness, and then you're dealing with loneliness, and you're dealing with anger. The thing about Jesus is that everything he does in you is holistic. He won't just take care of your debt, he will take care of your spending. He'll take care of your heart. He'll sweep the insides of you. Like, he will take care of you top to bottom. Spirit, soul, and body. And I love that. It seems crazy. It's like God anointed me. For me personally, I had people who prophesied over me. I told you, my mother was the first person who started planting those seeds in my heart. And the thing is that she didn't say the same thing to all of her children. She has 4 kids and she said different things to all of them. For my elder brother, she said something else, that this is what God has said you're gonna do. For my sister, she's like, this is what God told me before you were born that you're gonna do. So I speak this over you and all of that. But for me, she was like, Mayowa, you are a woman of God. I said, W-O-G. I mean, I used to joke about it growing up, but now I'm like, oh my God, please leave me alone. But she said it so much, like I heard it, oh my God. And something was growing on the inside of me and God was just arranging arranging my path and he has brought me this far. I didn't know that I was going through the school of disapproval. Now, the first time I ever felt that someone disapproved of me, I would say was going back to when I was really young. And I felt that in my family. I grew up in a two-parent household. My parents are pastors. They love the Lord. They were great people. I feel like they did the best that they could with the information that they had in that life, in that how things were done back in the 90s. They did their best. And even then, I still feel like I had parental wounds. I still feel like I myself, I was not a very good kid. I wasn't the kid you would be like, come here, let me pet you. I was one that had thorns. I'm like, I was so bad. Everything I did, I was naughty. I will scatter the house. I'm the one that will play. My head will... Have you seen parents that post before and after pictures of their kids when they go to school, the morning and when they come back? You're like, what the? That was me. That was me. I was so wild. And anyway, so I did sustain like parental wounds. So from the very beginning, when I was younger, I felt like I didn't fit in my family, and the enemy tried to use that to ostracize me. And I really didn't fit, honestly. My siblings were so like, oh my God, picture perfect. I'm sure my parents won't say that. All of us had our own different things. Now looking back, for me at that young age, the enemy started whispering lies that I didn't fit and I was the black sheep. I don't even know where I head down. Maybe from when they were teaching us nursery rhymes, blah, blah, black sheep, talomo. But from a young age, I just knew the concept of black sheep, and whoever had that tag in the family, I just felt like that was me. It just kept on going. My parents pastored churches, and then we moved to the US, and they also pastored churches here, and Jesus. Whew. This is where all that church hurt came from, disapproval, and it was crazy. And I didn't know what was happening to me. I just felt like there was something intrinsically wrong with me. I felt like if you put me in the middle of a soup, I will scatter that soup. If you put me in the middle of a group of people, not me, I will be the one. Like, I just felt like it was me. And I didn't know that it was just the enemy that hated me, and he was ferocious about his hate, and he disapproved of me. He brought people into my life who told me they disapproved of me. Let's fast forward a little bit into my early teens. I probably say I was like 13 or 14 about this time. There was this auntie that I really loved in the church. Oh, we were in the choir together. Oh my God, she was so cool. She was in her 20s then. I thought like she would never leave me. I thought she was my auntie. I just began to see the little things where she would tell me things like, you're embarrassing. You look an 11-year-old in the eye and you tell them you're embarrassing, like you're an embarrassment. Like, don't stand next to me. I've struggled with my hair a lot. It's been a while. Like, it's just taken years to come to like, I make peace with my body. I make peace with my skin tone. I make peace with the curve of my thighs. I make peace with the fact that I love to eat bread. I make peace with who I am. But back then, like, my hair was just like a hot mess. My mom was not a hairdresser. The woman tried for us. My father, they put a roof over our head. So who cares that my hair was a mess? Okay, so far as I love Jesus, they introduced me to Jesus and they put a roof over my head, I was good. But anyways, I remember there was one day I did my hair and I did it myself. And I think that's where like my love for hair kind of came up. Please follow Sweet Refuge Beauty. That's one of my things. And it was birthed from this season. I just had to learn everything myself. I remember I was in church, I had done my hair. I thought it looked good. And obviously because I was one messing with chemicals, I was relaxing my hair, doing all these crazy things. I was trying so many things, gluing weaves onto my hair. Like, it was a mess. And I was getting better at it. But there was one time like I took out my hair at the back and actually like what's jadan, like it was chopped off. It wasn't a bald spot or anything, but it was considerably shorter. And so she looked at me and said, your hair is an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to me. And I was just like, okay. And I was so young to hear words like that. And I didn't know that the enemy was putting those people and they were planting fear. They were planting anxiety. They were planting suicidal thoughts in my heart. They were planting evil things that a child should not be thinking. Oh, all this while my parents were declaring Jesus, lifting up holy hands, So that was like my second time where I just thought, oh my God, I don't fit in. And I remember when I moved to the Brookwood area, there was this like predominantly white area for high school. My first day of my freshman year, I talked about it in one of these videos that you're gonna see right here. Wait. Anyways, you see it in the cards. I went to lunch. That was my first time going to lunch. I didn't even know what it was like, and I wanted to sit down next to this girl. We ended up being friends later on in life. It's crazy. I wanted to sit next to her, and she was like, you can't sit here. Now looking back, I feel like that's just a horrible thing to say to someone who this is their first day. It's the first day of 9th grade. Like, about me, there's Ben. She stacks money. It's not your money. Your father did not pay for the thing. But she was just like, you can't sit here and I was the only one standing. Everybody had gotten their lunch, everybody sat down, they were ready to eat, and I was the one that was still holding my hand, and I felt like this sense of shame and oh God, I just took my tray and I went into the bathroom, the 9th grade bathroom. I ate lunch there, and that began like my 4 years of eating lunch in the bathroom all through high school. Long story short, where it really hit me was definitely when I was 17, 18, where I knew that, okay, something is wrong. I've talked about these stories in different videos that I'll link in the cards if you want to go hear the stories in full. When I was like 17, 18, I had a group of girls. We went to church together. I'm telling you, this thing called church hurt is real. But I'm also here to tell you that Jesus can heal any type of church hurt. Like, he's the healer. It's amazing that I'm not like weeping and I'm not like crying over it, because at that time in that season, with my emotions and being so young and all of that, like, it hurt me so bad. It hurt me in my soul, like in the core of who I was. Anyways, I had a group of girls. We went to church together. We were really tight for years. We were so tight, and I thought like we would be BFFs forever. I want to stop here and say that Hollywood, this Western world, has romanticized fairy tales, has romanticized that concept of BFF. Mohit kini ebaje. Like, please. There are friends that are meant to be in your life for a season, maybe a couple of years. There's some friends that you're not supposed to tag along, like bring them along in every single area of your life. It's crazy. Anyways, if you're in middle school, just be cautious. And so with those girls, I forged one of my earliest friendships that I thought we would be together for a long time. Long and short of the entire story was they turned against me. They all ganged up on me. They threw me out of the group. They would make fun of me. I remember I used to be part of the sanitation group in the church, and every Saturdays we would clean the bathrooms. We would also sweep and do all of that. You know, when you're a pastor's child, they want you to do everything, including die for their sins. If no, seriously, like, do everything. Be holy, sis, be righteous, clean the church, babysit my child. All this is I'm saying I've done it. Like, babysit my child for nothing. Like, you and your family be spent for me, do everything for me. Rant over. And I was cleaning the bathrooms and they walked in. They had kicked me out of the choir at this point. They walked in because they came for choir practice, and I remember they were laughing as they were leaving. I mean, I was like scrubbing the toilet bowl and like hot tears were just flowing out of my eyes, and I didn't understand all along that I was in God's boot camp and I was taking a course called the School of Disapproval. Moving along, I went into my 20s, but before that, I remember it was at that season with those girls that I gave myself a new middle name. Some people call me Jesulayomi, but people don't know the backstory behind that. Was I gave myself that name after coming out of that thing with those girls. I realized that I had put them in the wrong place. I was going through a lot at school. I was not close to my parents, and like, people, friendships had defined me. It was like I got my worth because of them. And so I changed my name and I said, you know what, today moving forward, my name is Jesulayomi, and that means that Jesus is my joy. He's the center of anything, like anything that has to do with my life. Jesus is smack dab at the center. Like, nobody will ever take that place that only Jesus can fill. Nobody will ever usurp his authority. Like, Jesus is my joy. So that's where that came from. Moving on to my 20s, oh y'all, it was still in church because I was a good church girl. I'm not saying that I was 100% perfect. I'm sure if some of the perpetrators are watching this, they'll be saying, that girl. Obviously, I was young, I was very silly. There are things that I feel like I did that I didn't need that extra attention. I didn't need that extra hate. But because I was so immature in my own ways, there are things that I also did. I don't excuse myself. But then I still did not know that the hatred that they had for me was demonic. Anyways, so my dad pastored this church, and in this church, there was not one person that did me right. There was not one person that loved me, that cared for me or my family. Like, turn to the left, turn to the right, everybody hated you. I remember, like, I would come with some group of us who were young, and we were like, we wanted to see the revival, we wanted to see the fire of God fall down. So we used to come to church every Sundays to pray in the morning. It would be anything from like 5 a.m. until service started at like 10. I think it was 10 or 10:30. That's like a good 5 hours that I would just be in church. We'll be praying, be crying our hearts to God. Like, Jesus, come to this place today. We want to see your power. I didn't know that God was training me. I would go there, I would pray. There'll be so many times that the thought of just coming to church again another day, like, would just make me cry. I remember sometimes the Saturday leading to church on Sunday, I would just shed tears because I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to see these wicked, evil people. I'm like, oh, I can't stand them. Why do I have to see them all the time? Like, you go into a place and it's charged. The energy is charged with not good energy. Like, they hate you. The vibes you're getting is, I wish you would fall down and die. Like, I came into church every Sunday with my defense on. Like, come for me, I'm punch you, that kind of thing. So I always came like, I'm watching out for myself. At this point, the idea of friendship was just like archaic to me. I'm like, who? For who? Jesus is my friend. Jesus is my joy. Like, there's no way. I used to put on my makeup in church because I came so early and I would get dressed in church. But like, sometimes I would cry for like 3 or 4 hours. I would say I was praying, but I was crying because I hated it and I hated being there and I hated the people. Anyways, moving to my 20s, this is where like I now finally realized, oh my God, this was God all along. At this point in time, I left people my age mates, even people that were not my age mates, they did not like me. I grew so many skins that it was hard to get to the real me. And I feel like today I can still feel some of that where I'm like this with you guys because this is camera. Do you know what I mean? If you meet me in person, some people might say that I'm a little stuck up. I'm not trying to be stuck up. I'm just observing you. Do you understand? It comes with the territory of being a pastor's child. Like, I don't know your intentions towards me. I'm just observing you. So when people meet me, they think they get this version of me that expresses who I am. I'm like, hey guys, come in, I love you. Oh girl, that girl is dead and gone. You would never see her again. She would never resurrect because the enemy was using that portion of me, which God made me that way. He made me to love people, to care for people. It was all aligned with destiny that God had for me. But the enemy was taking that and perverting it where I was loving people, but I was loving the wrong people. I was letting the wrong people come in and hurt me and stab me and mangle me and break my heart and stomp over it. It was crazy. Moving right along. So this time around, like, instead of trusting people my age, I was like, okay, it's better to have like friendship with people that are older, just a little bit older, or maybe 10 years, that kind of thing. They will be more matured. There were times it was also like work, it was people at work, it was just different things, but it was just constantly, every person you met was, I disapprove of you, I hate you, if I could catch you in a dark, if I could kill you without getting charged for a crime, I would. I'm not joking and I'm not exaggerating. This is how it felt every day going into church. And I had so many wounds that I never dealt with appropriately. There were certain things that I feel like my parents didn't do right. Obviously they've apologized to us. They were ministers, they were young. We've moved on from it, but there were so many wounds that I sustained. And for the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me. There's a way that disapproval defines your life from when you're like age 4 to your 20s. You think you're not just like you add to the problem. It's like you're a problem. The one that really everything just blew over was this pastor friend that I really liked. He was, you know, definitely not that I liked him romantically or anything, but he was like my singles pastor. Oh my God, like we loved each other. I would go over to his place, we would pray together, do different things together, and once again, like everybody else, he turned against me, he left. And that was something that was synonymous with, like, they would turn against me and then they will leave, and they will always leave this vacuum in my life. But because I went through what I went through with the girls from church when I was 18, instead of them leaving and leaving my heart like gaping, it didn't really matter. It hurt, but I had gone to a place where Jesus filled that spot, and I never really put people in a place where Jesus should be. I hope that makes sense. Looking back, there was one day recently I was having a conversation with my mom, and she said the words, "Welcome to the school of disapproval," and it hit me. You know when something hits you like you're having an epiphany, it just feels like this is a God moment, and it hit me, and I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly what it was that I went through. It was the school of disapproval. Let me tell you, not everybody is bad. I've had really good friends. Even me saying it sounds strange, like it sounds like it's not true. I've had many good friends. I would say about 2 of them that have lasted from college, high school, that kind of thing, that we're on the same path. We love God. We're women that are pursuing Jesus. And I prayed for them specifically after what happened with those group of girls. But I realized that when you are in the school of disapproval, it's a course that's packaged for you. In the school of disapproval, you realize that your true worth, your true identity is based on how Jesus defines you. Let me tell you you a quick story. When I was serving during youth service, I lived with a pastor and his wife, and in that house there were so many people that lived there. Many times the girls would always like flock into the kitchen. We would cook. We were learning different things about discipleship and all of that good stuff. I remember there was one day, that week was so hectic, but that pastor, because he was a pastor, many people would drop in, they would drop out. Like, we were cooking, it was just a consistent thing. I had done my own little bit, just done everything, cleaned, washed the mountain of, it was crazy. And we had a pact, me and the girls that stayed in there. I think at that time there were only 2 or 3 of the girls, and only 2 of us were home the day this big thing happened. And we made a pact where, like, as girls, nobody goes into the room until we all leave. Like, we leave together. So we all like split the work. If I'm cooking, you're mopping, you're doing the dishes, you're putting dishes away, like something. It made practical sense. And I remember that day where the pastor of the house, he had been writing a book or something, so he was in this portion of the boys' quarters for like 2 or 3 days, and he emerged that day. I had done my own little portion, and we'd cooked, done everything, and I was waiting for the last girl to mop. I laid down on the sofa, big mistake, and I was waiting for the last girl to finish so we could go into the room together and get a nap, like a much needed nap. Anyways, the pastor comes out, he looks at my friend who is doing the last bit of stuff and is mopping, and he praises her. He sees me, he was like, oh my God, you're gonna be the wife of a great man of God. You're gonna do this and this for Jesus. Oh my God, you're this, you're this. He was like, look at you still, you know, mopping and doing when other girls are laying down, obviously referring to me. He praises and praises and praises. There was nothing he did not say. Emi come, Rabbi, like, Now, this whole thing might not mean anything to you, but for us, somebody had come in unexpectedly the night before. Guys, it was horrible just living with the house with so many people and doing so much housework. And I didn't mind. I felt like it was God's plan for me. I was submitted. The Bible says it is good for a man to bear his yoke while he is young. I didn't mind. And hot tears just fell out of my eyes. He didn't see me. We were done, she finished up, and this girl, that should have been a red flag that relationship was weird. But this girl never even said, hey, like, we did this together. Like, mayowa is over there. We did this too. She received all the praise and the glory for herself. I saw anything. I went inside my room and I laid down and I wept. Like, I wasn't screaming. You know the kind of painful tears where there's no sound, it's just water that's just coming out of your eye? That's exactly what happened. I just cried and cried, and I heard the Lord say something, and that, oh, even the memory of it like brings tears to my eyes. Like, the Lord said, I thought you died. I said, eh? The Lord was like, I thought you died. I said, Lord, please explain. And the Lord referred me to a scripture that I had been reading over for the past couple of weeks. Ye are dead, and your life is hid in Christ Jesus. And he was like, if you're dead, why does his approval of you matter to you? He was like, a dead man does not arise from death and say, why did you not approve of me? You did not see that I swept, that I mopped. The Lord was like, I thought you were dead, sis. Go back and sleep. I thought the Lord would cuddle me and be like, oh, my sweetheart, my darling. He does that for me. He's a good father. But there are times where he's like, I'm your coach. Like, get up, sis. Get up. Anyways, so that happened, and I was just like, wow. And I think since then, whatever remaining yoke, because I was such a people pleaser growing up. I was a pastor's child, and people hated me. And because people hated me so much, I always wanted people to like me. So I flipped from here to like, please love me. Like, I feel sorry for the younger version of me. I want to take her and just hug her and be like, Mayowa, you're enough, sis. And I realized, oh my God, in the school of disapproval, God will send pastors, seriously, men that are authentic, great men of God that would disapprove of you, spiritual leaders that would disapprove of you, people like my singles pastor that disapproved of me. So many people in the church. This was not like at work, like in the church, who hated me and disapproved of me. And I'm saying all of this to say, because I wish when I was 10 years old, when I was 7 years old, and I saw from the onset that people just generally hated me, I wish somebody had filmed a video like this to say, it's okay, sweetheart, you're just taking a course. It's the school of disapproval. Wow, right, last, you will be fine. I just thought I am the problem. And when you feel like you're a problem, you start acting out, and it starts to show that you really are a problem. I'm saying this to say that if you are a young girl in ministry, God has called you for something amazing. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm not saying that you are perfect. I've told you that God deals with us holistically. He will take care of you, your insides, your outsides, spirit, soul, and body. He'll deal with your attitude. He'll deal with your drama. He'll deal with that rape, he'll deal with your past. But there's nothing wrong with you. When people hate you demonically, it's the demons in them that upsets them. Like, it's not you. They hate the Jesus in you. Now, the other day I was reading a book about Stephen, and it just really touched me, because this is the story of Stephen in Acts 6 verse 8 to 15. And verse 15 says, every member of the Supreme Council focused his gaze on Stephen. This is when, like, they were about to stone him. For right in front of their eyes, while being falsely accused, his face glowed as though he had the face of an angel. And I'm thinking about the juxtaposition of him being falsely accused by cancel culture, him being falsely accused by the people of the day. This is the church, the synagogue, while also seeing the glory of Jesus. Because the world disapproves of you does not mean that God does not approve of you. You are still on course, baby girl. Because people have hated you for years, like intense. I'm not talking about this is hating. People say, oh, he a hater. That stuff is just like on the surface. I am talking about a different type of hate when it's demonically engineered. Like, did I steal your husband? Did I kill your child? Kinimoshi. I need you to know that you are just taking a course in God's boot camp, and it is the school of disapproval. What manifests in your life when you're falsely accused? What manifests in your life when people hate you? Do you take that and just go, oh no, everybody hate me? Or do you say it as, oh no, I'm gonna grow from this. I will be better, not bitter. I want to end this by saying many times it's not you, it's the God that's behind you that they hate. There's this destiny on your life. I believe eyes have not seen, ears have not heard. It has not entered into the imagination of man what God has promised for them that love him. But there's sometimes that they can just guess, or they can feel like, oh, there's something about this girl. Now, going back to that time in the church where people hated me, I look back and I couldn't reconcile a good God with people who represented him. I had hurt from pastors. Oh my God. There was a time this pastor's wife said something to me. If not for God, I would have committed suicide that very night. I'm like, what is it? Yeah, a pastor's wife. You should be able to relate with me. She heard something that people said I did all the way in Canada, wherever she is. I'm like, Egbami, I'm in Atlanta. Mind your business. Stay in your lane. Anyway, I'm saying all of this to say that many times it's not you. It's the destiny that's ahead of you. It's the God that is behind you that they hate. If they hated Jesus, they called him, that he said he had Beelzebub. This is our Jesus. So I don't know what you are thinking. What do you think? What do you think people are going to do to you if they did this to Jesus? Sweetheart, you're not the problem. This is for 10-year-old Mayowa, 15-year-old Mayowa, 20-year-old Mayowa, 25-year-old Mayowa that felt like there was something intrinsically wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm not saying that you were perfect. Jesus was honing you. He was filing you. You were in the quarry. He was shaping you. He was making you an arrow. But don't you ever let the enemy speak lies into your head. Don't you ever let anybody make you feel like you're a problem. Daddy wants to have the problem. Okay, stay the course, stay the race, stay in God's boot camp. Please don't drop out. Jesus, the Bible says, it was for the glory ahead. He endured the cross. Many times when you go through difficult seasons, you look past the season, you look past the tears, past the sorrow, the depression, for the glory that is ahead. And that's how I was able to survive. I only told you not a quarter of the things that I've been through. If I sit down here, you'd be like, are you the only one? No, seriously, like I've been through some really, really hurtful stuff from church, from men of God, from people who represented God, who were not God, and didn't have the character or the attitude of God. But I placed them on this pedestal and they really hurt me. And because they hurt me, I felt like God hurt me. Or I felt like God did not approve of me because they didn't approve of me. Nah, sis, you're just in God's school of disapproval. You will survive. If I did, oh honey, there's nobody in this world that cannot survive. I'm so serious. It is well with you. I'm praying for you. I really, really am. Sister in Christ, I am praying for you that you will stay the course. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? All right. Catch you guys in the next one, and let me know what you think about this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Share it. Apart from giving me a thumbs up, please just share this with another girl who is going through something like this and who needs to hear this message. Jesus is Lord over your life. You are of the seed of them that overcome. Come on, warrior. This is not the end. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.